Okay, the time is now 6 o'clock, and it's time for our regular council meeting, February 8th, 2024, and we will begin with a moment of silence, a pledge of allegiance to the flag led by Deputy Mayor Landis.
Thank you. I will admit that I struggled with this one. I wanted to say something eloquent and thoughtful because Mayor Schultz does a really good job at that, but nothing seems to come out right in my head, so I'll just be honest. As a counselor, I care deeply about the residents of this town and I pay attention, and we all do. And I quietly ask lots of questions outside of these meetings. And when I hear about a pedestrian being hit by a car, I ask why we can't have pedestrian prioritized crossing lights and other safety barriers. And the same goes for a murder or suicide or an overdose or any human tragedy within our borough. I pay attention. I think about these things almost constantly. And I try to educate myself about any way that I can help make this town to be as supportive as we can in our policies and our outreach. And I'm not immune in the struggles either. Mine is anxiety. Sertraline is my helper friend in this struggle. Ever since I've had this job, I've held close the quote from Maggie Kuhn: stand before the people you fear and speak your mind, even if your voice shakes. When you least expect it, someone may actually listen to what you have to say. Well aimed slingshots can topple giants. And do your homework. I've quietly, I've been quietly consumed with anxiety some days, but I'll still speak for the betterment of others, even if it's kind of jumbled and messy, but it's from the heart. And so this moment of silence is for everyone who quietly struggles with anything, with everything: mental health, domestic abuse, substance abuse, child abuse, homelessness, depression, anxiety. You are not alone. I almost made it through without crying. Almost. It was so close. All right. We'll do the pledge now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Landis. Mr. Secretary, the roll call, please.
Mr. Hicks,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Landis,
Here.
Ms. Mellon,
Here.
Ms. Perry,
Here.
Ms. Roos,
Here.
Mr. Stubbe,
Here.
Mayor Schultz.
Here. We will first begin with not an item on the agenda, but Councilor Hicks is attending by video conference. I'll need a motion to permit his attendance by video conference.
So moved.
It's a motion by the Deputy Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Stubbe. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Welcome, Councilor Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And as I'll forget, as I usually do, but I'll try to pause to give you time to respond because of the delay. Next is an opportunity for citizens and visitors to be heard. So if there's anybody here who would like to be heard on any topic of borough government, now is the time to come up to the podium. I know we have some Cub Scouts here. And if you plan to provide any comment, you're all staring at me like, please, no, not me. And that's it. Okay. Is there anybody else? Okay. And do we have anybody by Zoom? Okay. Then next up is the consent agenda. So it's a list of routine items which do not appear to be controversial in nature and probably do not require additional discussion. They can be acted on by one motion in their current form. If discussion is desired on any particular item, any member of council or the public may request the item be removed from the consent agenda, and that item will be considered separately. Is there any such request? Okay, I hear none. I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by the Deputy Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mellon. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. So the first couple of pages through page 3 have passed. And we move on to the regular agenda. There are no table continue Continued and recurring items. There's one item under my report. It's a letter of support for Halifax Township in regard to a crossing, Norfolk Southern crossing. So I'll briefly describe it, and then if Mark wants to jump in because I get anything wrong, but I'm going to make it real simple. When a municipality wants to add a railroad crossing in the state, I guess along any Norfolk Southern line in the state, they need one removed elsewhere. We happen to be removing across two crossings. Thanks, Mark. Two crossings at Spring Road in conjunction with the connectivity project, Project One, at Spring Road and Hanover Street. So stars kind of aligned on this actually came up because of our presentations to Senator Rothman, bringing him up to speed on the projects. He later had communication with Halifax Township on some of their projects. It's actually a park project, a nice project that they're working on in a historic area in Halifax Township. We're not really giving anything up because we're already removing this. We don't anticipate needing any further crossings any time in the foreseeable future. I guess we'll have one more that we could use if we see a need. So I would ask council's support of this letter. Is there any further discussion you need on it? Mark, did I miss anything? Okay. Can I have a motion to support the letter?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Mellon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Deputy Mayor. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Thank you all. Next, reports from committees. Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few items to cover this evening. First, I move that Borough Council approve the renewal of the annual service contract with HACH Service Partnership for preventative maintenance and servicing of analytical and monitoring equipment at the Carlisle Water Treatment Facility. Contract is for a 1-year period effective February 16th, 2024.
Councilor Stube makes a motion to approve the renewal of the annual service contract for the maintenance and servicing of equipment at the water treatment facility. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hicks. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes.
Next, I move that Borough Council authorize renewal of the annual service contract with Rhythm Engineering to provide technical support and in-sync software updates for the adaptive traffic signal system installed throughout the borough along the Hanover and High Street corridors.
Councilor Stube makes a motion to authorize the renewal of the annual service contract for the adaptive traffic signal system. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hicks. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes.
Next, I move that Borough Council award the unit price contract for the purchase of downtown traffic signal detection equipment to the lowest responsive bidder, Signal Control Products LLC of Souderton, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $153,715.
Councilor Stube makes a motion to award the contract to Signal Control Products for the purchase of downtown traffic signal detection equipment. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hicks. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes.
Next, I move that Borough Council approve the purchase of repair parts and the rebuilding of the JWC Environmental Wet Well Sewage Grinder for the wastewater plant from Watermark Environmental Systems Incorporated of Exton, Pennsylvania for $23,251.50 through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Cooperative Purchasing Co-Stars program.
Councilor Stube makes a motion to approve the purchase of repair parts and the rebuilding of the JWC Environmental Wet Well Sewage Grinder. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hicks. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes.
And finally, I move that Borough Council authorize the mayor to execute the site access agreement with Verizon Wireless to allow access onto the borough's property at 7 East Garland Drive for the purpose of performing site investigations to help Verizon assess the the suitability of the property for locating a communications facility.
Councilor Stubbe makes a motion to authorize me to execute the site access agreement with Verizon Wireless for assessment of the suitability of our property in locating a communications facility. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Sorry, second by Councilor Hicks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes.
And that concludes the Public Works Committee report for this evening.
And before I move on to my committee, because we have, especially with the Cub Scouts here, we're running through these votes pretty quickly, right? So what typically happens, so you understand how this all works, is we have workshop meetings. So last week on Wednesday, we had a workshop meeting where we discuss sort of the things that need a lot of discussion. Some of these items, you know, we need to replace equipment and we do bids, and that stuff's important, and staff does such an awesome job pulling all that together for us. We don't typically have a lot of discussion on those things. But if you ever want to come back, the Wednesday on the week prior to our regular meetings, we have our workshop meetings, and there's a lot more discussion, a lot more information flow at those meetings. So I know you're all going to be come running out here next month on that Wednesday. Check that out. All right. So I'll move on to the Public Safety Committee. I move the council adopt an ordinance amending the code of the Borough of Carlisle adopted by Ordinance 2032 and thereafter amended with respect to Chapter 244 Vehicles and Traffic to add one on-street handicap parking space at 451 West Penn Street. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Roos. Any discussion? I'll call the question, and this requires a roll call. Mr. Secretary, please.
Mr. Hicks,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Landis,
Aye.
Ms. Mellon,
Aye.
Ms. Perry,
Aye.
Ms. Roos,
Aye.
Mr. Stubbe,
Aye.
Mayor Schultz.
Aye. The motion passes. Next, Parks and Recreation.
I move that Borough Council may adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor as signature authority for the grant application to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the C2P2 grant program for the Comprehensive Recreation Park and Open Space Plan.
Council Roos makes a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing me as the signature authority for the grant application for the C2P2 grant program. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mellon. Is there any discussion? I'll just note that C2P2 is not a droid in Star Wars. Disappointing. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Next, Budget and Finance.
All right, I have one item for tonight. I make the motion the Borough Council approve a quote of $18,685 from Hinton and Associates for switches related to technology upgrades.
Deputy Mayor makes a motion to approve a quote, $18,685 from Hinton and Associates for switches related to technology upgrades, and I will second that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. And the motion passes. Next is new business. So this is another opportunity if you were too shy earlier in the meeting and you want to provide any public comment on any issues of borough government. This is your last bite at the apple. Is there anybody here who would like to do so? And do we, Mr. Smith, come on up. And Mr. Smith, I'll remind you, I didn't remind you last week, but we actually have a 5-minute limit on public comment. So
Yes, sir. Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
I do appreciate the invitation and the welcomeness of this organization. It's very important to all of us. I don't have any prepared statements as usual, and I'm sorry I missed the opening presentation before the moment of silence. I lived in a van for 3 years. I was 50 years old. All right. I knew how to take care of myself. I stayed sober. When you live in a vehicle, you can't drink and drive to keep your senses about yourself. Keep yourself clean, keep yourself occupied, keep yourself in a manner that you don't frighten people. But I lived in this town all my life, So I knew people, many people were familiar with me. So I don't want to address homelessness right now. Um, I was here really to thank you for your courtesy and your professionalism, because I realize I'm an emotional person and I'm not always presentable. You know, I ran out of laundry detergent today, and I could afford it, but I'm a logistical person. I didn't want to leave my house just to go get detergent. I'll wait. I wore what I had on. I'm comfortable. I like bicycling. I've been riding a bike most of my life. This is something I'd probably wear if I were riding my bike. And since we're talking about cycling, one day I was on my bicycle, my Schwinn bicycle, single speed, coaster brake, easy to ride. I'm at the intersection of D and Factory. I think by this time, tire and wheel or rubber had been torn down. But it wasn't a busy intersection. I'm in the middle of it, and I'm looking this way down Factory Street, and I see a flagpole, and I see the American flag flying among the treetops. Oh, that's interesting. What flagpole is that? Well, it's Rush Campus. And then, having some surveying experience and working for engineers, it looked 90 degrees left, and another flagpole, actually, a couple. It's the Army War College. Oh, that's interesting. And I think at the time I had a pamphlet that the Borough presented, and I'm looking at this pamphlet. It may have had to do with the bike routes. So I mapped out this 45-degree angle, and I went right through the point at Maslin's. So wow, that's neat. So I picked out this rectangle, and it ended up kind of like at the point down at the plaza. That's really interesting. And knowing that Meeting House Springs was established in 1732, and the Penns didn't come until 1750 to stake out the town, there's 30 years of people coming through the area. So anyhow, I'm thinking, all right, here we are at Factory Street, and I'm looking at the college, and I'm looking at the post, and then there's Spring Garden, and right in the middle is Commerce. They're the pillars of a community. You have agriculture, you have defense, you have industry on Factory, and then you have education at the college, and right in the middle, where all the points come, you have Commerce. And so, when the Factory went away, when Maslin's went away, and the owners came to the community and asked, "What do you want here?" I saw an idle railway and a chance to develop something. So I came to the public meeting and raised my hand, and I said, "Train station." It was the last one I was called upon. Tammy Gitt was here from the Sentinel. But anyway, the engineer said, well, maybe in the future. But they were right, because really when I look at the plan now, it would be too crowded to have an Amtrak train station there. The original people had it right. The train station was here before. It was right in the middle of town by the Hamilton, and then they moved it down to where it is, Memorial Park. And that's a good spot for a new one. And, I was focused on Turnpike at, Spring Road and Cavalry. And then I was talking to a friend about my presentation because, really I wasn't aware of all the video cameras. And so I watched myself the other day, and I didn't turn the volume on because I don't like to hear myself. But I didn't realize I moved so much, but I did. But anyway, when I told him, he goes, "Oh, I always thought K Street was a good idea," is what he told me. And I'm looking at him thinking, yeah, that's a good move. K Street, the original Turnpike, that'd be great. So now we have Pitt Street and West Street to work with. We don't have to worry about Spring Road and Hanover Street. We can take some of the congestion off that. So, you can have your presentations downtown. You can have your one-way travel lanes, your bike lanes.
Mr. Smith, that's your
Thank
time's
you
up.
very much.
Thank you. We got the picture though. Thank you for your comment. Is there any further comment? Okay, and still nothing by Zoom, Stephanie. Okay, then we'll do reports from council members and staff. We'll begin with our student ambassadors. Yes, me.
No new business to report.
Okay.
Same here, no new business to report.
Okay. Everybody wants to get to the Carlisle High School basketball game. I know I do. Councilor Roos.
No new business.
Okay, Councilor Mellon.
I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to Stacy and Phil and the Downtown Carlisle Association and the amazing job that everybody involved did on Ice Fest this past weekend. It was highly attended. It was a lot of fun, and it brought a lot of people downtown. And I thank everyone for their efforts on that.
Thank you. Councilor Stubbe.
I have nothing further this evening.
Deputy Mayor Landis.
Totally unrelated, but since Mr. Smith brought it up, I thought I'd bring up a fun fact from my other job, which I teach podcasting as one of the many things. The reason why you don't like the sound of your own voice, and we all collectively do not like the sound of our own voice, is because we don't hear our own voice through our eardrums. We hear them through the vibration of our skull. So when you hear it and it's recorded, you're hearing yourself through your eardrums, and you don't like it. So, that's it.
Fun fact. Come back for more fun facts.
Even if I did have something, it wouldn't top that.
Borough Manager Armstrong. Solicitor Brenneman. Okay, and thank you all. Relatively quick. Sorry to disappoint. This meeting is adjourned.